Hi everyone, welcome to my Zoom tutorial. Today's tutorial is going to focus on Zoom for beginners, especially those teachers who are new to remote learning. The first part of the tutorial will focus on the settings that you're going to need for student interaction. The second half of the tutorial will be focused on Zoom's interface and how best to use it when interacting with your students. If you'd like to jump straight to that portion of the video, please go to the 4-minute 30-second mark. Let's get started. We're going to begin working with Zoom in our browser window. What we see here is my profile. We're going to skip past the profile and go straight into our settings. Here you see the host and participant video. I like to turn those off to give me and the student the opportunity to get settled in before they start the meeting. I always enable telephone and computer audio. This gives families the options to choose how they want to connect to the meeting. Here's join before host. This I'm going to disable to allow for more privacy and security. These have been disabled automatically. I'm not going to touch them. They're not important for our purposes. These have been enabled for security purposes and we're going to leave them alone. Here we have more enabled features for security purposes. Mute participants upon entry. And the reason I disable the mute upon entry is because when students join into the sessions, I want them to be able to say hello. These settings, I'm going to leave them alone. The only thing that I'm going to modify is the chat. I'm going to allow chats, but I am going to prevent my participants from saving the chat. I'm going to allow for private chats for the purposes of today's meeting. However, you can choose to disable it if you don't want your students to get distracted during class. All of these are automatically enabled and disabled. Co-host. I like to enable a co-host in case I have an audiologist, a physical therapist, an occupational therapist who wants to be able to control some of the settings. Polling is another great feature that you can use with your students. I won't be showing polling today, but I like to keep it on. I like to always show my meeting control bar. That allows me to easily access settings. I turn off show Zoom windows during screen share to protect students' privacy. Screen sharing is a great feature in Zoom, and we'll discuss this a bit more once we start our meeting. I'm going to allow all participants to share their screen. However, I'm going to limit who can share simultaneously to just me. I don't want all the students sharing screens at the same time. Annotation is a great resource when working with students. The whiteboard is a great resource when working with students as well. The remote control feature is one of my favorite features in Zoom and really allows for a lot of interaction with your students. I like this feature, allow participants to rename themselves. Many times our students join in from their parents' devices, and this allows them to change the display name. Down here, I like to make sure that the breakout rooms are always enabled. This is great if you have multiple students and you want to run a discussion session. Closed captioning is always on with our students who are deaf and hard of hearing, and we'll talk a little bit more about closed captioning once we join the meeting. And save captions so you can share the notes with the students. Virtual background is on. You can change your virtual background. If you don't have an office you can use a virtual background if you don't want your students to see your home. The rest of the settings, I'm going to leave disabled. Waiting room, I'm going to enable waiting room. If you recall, at the top of the settings, one of the options was to allow participants to join before host. I turned that off because you can't have that on and the waiting room on at the same time. Waiting room is a great feature for security purposes. This puts all the participants in a waiting room and they can't come into the meeting until you personally allow them in. I'm going to leave all of these enabled and disabled as they are. Now let's look at how to schedule a meeting. You can title a meeting, you can write a description. This is all self-explanatory. Duration, keep in mind, if you have the free version of Zoom, if you have more than one participant, you will only be allowed a 40-minute session. This is all pretty self-explanatory. Your automatically generated personal ID and your password. All of this we changed in the settings. These settings here, we've already placed them in our settings window. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule this meeting. Now that you see that I've scheduled the meeting, I can immediately start the meeting. It has 3 calendar options. I usually use Google Calendar and send it to my contacts. Some of my parents prefer that I text them the meeting ID and the password, which I do many times. You can also copy the invitation and send it directly through email, and here's the URL. I'm not going to start the meeting in the browser window. What I'm going to do instead is go straight to the app. Here's what the app looks like when you open Zoom directly through the app. I'm going to go ahead and start a new meeting. As you can see, I came in with my video turned off, just like I disabled in my settings. Also, my profile picture came up. I'm gonna go ahead and leave the profile picture up to avoid any distractions. Here's my microphone. I'm gonna leave that on for the time being, and then I'm gonna start showing you some of the features of Zoom. Just so you understand, if this interface looks a little different than what you're used to, it's because I recently updated my Zoom. You can see that we now have a security option, and the ability to invite from the interface is no longer there. However, you can come up to the meeting room and invite. Here you'll see the meeting ID number and the password. You're also able to invite using your email. You can copy the invitation. You can copy the URL. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this window. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the features we have down here. The reactions, these are the reactions I enabled in my settings. Your participants can clap or give a thumbs up. The closed captioning, this is the closed captioning. You can assign a participant to type, or you can type yourself. You can also copy the API for a third-party closed captioning service, and there are many out there. Record, I strongly discourage you from recording your sessions for privacy. I'm going to come over here to the security just to show you these are the options we enabled in our settings. As you can see, the orange flashing is alerting us that our participants are ready to come in. Let's click on the participants. And here they are. We're going to go ahead. You can admit one by one, or you could just admit all. I'm going to admit all since I know who all my participants are. And here they are all. They're all joining, and they're all connecting to their audio. So while we wait for them to connect to their audio, I'm going to go ahead and mute them all. Once I mute them all, we don't hear all that background noise that tends to happen when everybody comes in. The other option I have is to chat privately, ask them to start their video, make someone a host, make someone a co-host, rename them, put them in a waiting room, or remove them. I'm going to go ahead and close this window. Now here I'm in gallery view so that I can see all my participants at once. Usually we start off in speaker view. This is speaker view. That means whenever anyone speaks, their camera is going to be the one that's amplified. So I'm going to go ahead and have my participants test it out. They can hit on a keyboard or crumple up paper or say hello.
Hello. Hi there.
That was Brianna with a deep voice.
Hi, how's it going?
That was Abby. I'm going to go back to my gallery view. One of the things that your participants can do is if they need to speak or say something, they can raise their hand. So I'm going to ask somebody to raise their hand, please. So there you have it. Brianna has raised her hand. I can unmute her, listen to her question or answer her question, and then I can mute her again and I can lower her hand. Here are the reactions. I'm going to have a couple of the participants react to what I'm saying. Abby's clapping her hands and Erin's giving us a thumbs up. Thank you. So the next feature I'm going to show you is the chat. This option allows you to chat with everyone. So I'm going to send a message to everyone. I can also send a private message. In this case, I'm going to send it to Gabriel. And that's how you send messages. I'm going to go ahead and close this window. Now I'm going to move on to the share screen. I'm going to click on share screen, and this is going to allow all of my participants to view my screen. And I'm going to show you the options. So I've already prepared what I'm going to share with my participants. My focus is going to be on the whiteboard, the desktop, my PowerPoints, and what I have prepared in Chrome. In Chrome, if you're going to have multiple things to show in Chrome, I strongly recommend you have your tabs ready to go. And I actually happen to have 2 tabs ready to go. I'm going to start with the simplest. I'm going to share my PowerPoint slides. So we're talking about organs. And here's and name that organs game that I found on Teachers Pay Teachers. And I can share with my students, we can discuss, etc. I can stop sharing. I'm going to choose share screen again. Now, for my share screen, in this case, I want to show you the ability to give remote control access to your participants, which simply means that they're going to be able to manipulate what you're sharing with them. In order to do that, you need to share the desktop view. Over here, I have something in Chrome. In Boom Cards, if I was to share it separately, my students would not be able to access that or control my screen. I have to make sure to do it in desktop. So there's the desktop. I'm going to go ahead and share. And there's my desktop. That's what we saw last. I'm going to go into Google. And here's the game in Boom Learning that I'm going to play with my students. So this one is a simple game. The students need to click the correct answer, which is red. So we're working on colors. I'm going to show you the annotate tool. Annotate, you can choose a mouse, select, text, draw, stamp, etc. I like annotate because you can help them. Look at this color. I wonder what color that is. Look at that color. What color could that be? You can clear all of your drawings. You can erase them. You can undo. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase this one, and then I'm just going to clear all my drawings. And your students have the ability to annotate as well. That's another video. Look for it on my channel. I'm going to close this out. Here, I'm manipulating the screen still. As you can see, every time I toggle over, the object gets highlighted. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give remote control access to one of my participants. I click on remote control. Auto accept all requests. Your participants can request access. Again, that's a video that you can look for on my channel. But for now, I'm going to show you how to give, as a host, control. I'm going to go ahead and give remote access to Brianna. And as you can see down here, it says it's waiting for Brianna to control my screen. Now it says Brianna is controlling my screen. Go ahead, Brianna, which is red. And there she got it. She got the correct one. So this is a great interactive game that you can do with your students, and Boom Learning has many options. Please check back in my channel because I'm going to have plenty of tools and resources for you to use. Okay, I'm going to stop share. Now I'm back at my screen. I'm going to go back to share screen, and this time I'm going to share just Google Chrome. Now, this is still going to take me to the Boom Cards, but if I click here, I'm not going to be able to give remote control access. I think that's something Zoom needs to work on. However, I had another tab for a video that I want to show. Because our students are deaf and hard of hearing, and I'm not sure if all of my participants are going to have their hat, I want to make sure that they have optimized audio. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click Share Computer Sound. That way my students will hear the audio as if they were playing it from their own computers. So I'm going to come to this window. I'm going to share. I'm going to go to Ed Puzzle. I had this video ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and play it.
There were 5 pieces in one whole pie. The denominator of the whole pie was 5.
So I'm stopping this video, but the quality of the sound should be the same for your student as it is for you. I'm going to stop share again. Now I'm going to share the screen one more time. This time I'm going to go to the whiteboard. I'm going to click on whiteboard. Here on whiteboard, you can use this for a variety of activities, for keeping score, for playing tic-tac-toe, as a brain break. You can use it for many purposes. I'm going to share my remote with Brianna, and I'm going to have her play tic-tac-toe with me. Go ahead, Brianna, it's your turn. So as you can see at the bottom, it says Brianna is controlling my screen. It looks like she's going to her annotate bar and choosing what she wants to use, and there she has it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop. So every time I click, you notice it says it's waiting for her to control. It's because I've taken control back. I'm just going to abort control altogether. And don't worry, your students will not have access to your computer once you close the meeting and once you abort control, or even when you stop sharing screen, all of that is aborted. I'm going to stop share one more time. And now I'm going to come over here to the breakout rooms. I love the breakout rooms. This is a great feature for your older students who can do group sessions or group discussions. And click on breakout rooms. You can choose to automatically assign the breakout rooms, but you can also choose to break out your rooms manually if there's students that you want to group together. For today's tutorial, I'm just going to go ahead and create automatic breakout rooms. And as you can see, it's separated them. Brianna and Aaron are together, and Abby and Gabriel are together. You can name your breakout rooms. You can actually plan your breakout rooms before you start your Zoom meeting. Here are some options in the breakout rooms. Those are the options that you have. The one I want you to look at is countdown after closing breakout room. So when I decide to close the breakout room, it's going to give them 10 seconds before it automatically brings them all back. Zoom has it set at 60, but I changed it to 10 seconds for today's purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and open all my rooms, and little by little in the background, you're going to see my participants disappear. And there they are. They're all in their breakout rooms. However, I'm still here because I'm the host, but I can join the breakout rooms to hear the discussions that are going on, offer any advice, etc. So I'm gonna click join. Breakout room number 1. Yeah, I'll join it. So it's taking me to that breakout room. And here I am with Aaron and Brianna. When I'm ready to leave, if I want to go to the other breakout room, I just click on breakout rooms and leave. And now it's taking me back to the main session. Now that I'm back, I can come into the breakout rooms and close all the rooms. But remember, you can also time it and give them exactly 5 minutes or 3 minutes, and it'll automatically bring them back. It'll still count them down to 60 seconds or 10 seconds, whatever you set it at. I'm going to close all breakout rooms, and you're going to see everybody coming back. Here are the 10 seconds countdown. And there you have it. They're going to start coming back. I'm going to close this out. And it put me back in speaker view. I'm going to go back to gallery view. That's my preferred view. I hope I've answered all of your questions. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. When you end the meeting, it asks you if you want to keep this meeting open. Please make sure that you assign someone else as a host. So you can do that as well. So if you have a physical therapist that wants to continue working with a student, or a speech therapist, you can assign them to be the host. You can leave the meeting will continue without you, and then when they leave, it all ends. So I'm just going to go ahead and end the meeting for all. And now we're back to our app. I hope this helped to answer some of your questions. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll be posting many videos to give you tools and resources you can use with your students.